Alright guys, what's up? What is going on? Um I've been a little bit slacking theory and theology, but okay, so where to start? The fall season, autumn season, whatever you call it, has begun for 2024. So the new season is upon us. Those who follow the lunar calendar, it's almost the lunar new year, which means when it comes to Jewish cultural studies, I've got a lot of stuff to study. Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are right around the corner. And October is about to start. We're in the last day now of September when I'm recording this. And so, yeah, I've kind of, I got out of town a bit, did a bit of raving, had a good time, got some new perspective on some things. And so now I'm kind of a little more motivated to get back into what I want to do as far as studying and things. I feel like I'm kind of back on track a little bit. Not getting back on track, but I don't really know fully what I want to study. I'm kind of focusing more. I don't want to say this month only, but it kind of came up a bit this month because it's been coming up a lot. Topics surrounding like idols and things like that. Because I started reading this week's Parsha on today's Monday, so I started reading it on Monday or listening to it. I definitely decided to slow down this week. So what I'm trying to focus on this week is just working out in the mornings. I don't know anything after that. I haven't really determined how I want my schedule to look, but I definitely want to be working out every day this week. Just to keep the momentum going because, I just kind of stopped. I didn't stop working out, but I don't know. I kind of talked about a health side effect that I was having from an injection before, like around Ramadan. I've honestly still got that same issue going on, and so I've got doctor's appointments surrounding that, and it's kind of affecting my ability to really be able to work a lot because I need to be home a lot. So unless work is like fully remote, it's kind of hard for me to get on the same page. A lot of companies really need people to be not part-time and not remote. So I'm having kind of no luck in that category, but it doesn't really matter because even if I basically it doesn't matter, but that's the only thing that's kind of going to keep me limited with my exercising, and it already has limited me, but I'm noticing mornings might be a good time because there is kind of like a cycle with this cycle. Like it's not all day every day, so I've got to figure that stuff out. It's not fun, it's not pleasant, it's not that interesting, but it's definitely impacting. And I'm looking into getting connected with acupuncture treatment. A friend of mine has like a kind of knows about acupuncture, and it was kind of helping me, talking to me about it, and I found it really helpful, and so it's something that I think I want to try, mostly because I've got these back issues still going on, but yeah, all that other stuff aside, like I really wanted to try, like, going to the gym more, but more like slowing down my week so that I'm not like so burnt out and not able to really do things, because I am kind of in this period of time still where I was taking a 30-day break and then decided to make it a 40-day break, just because I feel like the 40 kind of has like that bit of a, or somewhat of a spiritual significance to it. And so my 40 days was the 23rd of September. Then we came into the fall season, and so I basically want to keep that. Keep that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm kind of trying to stick to my own goals with things. But as far as reading and studying, I'm on the section where they said 97A for the Talmud studies of, I don't know if it's called Bava Basra. I don't know, because I know sometimes the T and the S, certain groups kind of use different sounds for the T or the S sound. I think the letter's called Tet, and then the S letter that's called Suf. I think there's another T. There are two types of T's. Am I wrong? One of them's an ending for sure. I don't know. Now I need to brush up on my Hebrew. But anyways, I'm just trying to kind of figure out exactly what I want to do. As far as, what I want to plan for myself and everything. It's just hard. It's not too straightforward, because I'm the one kind of making it up as I go. I do get a little bored with the routine Parsha. I guess the only reason why I'm kind of motivated towards it right now is because there's only 2 more portions left, pretty much for the year. For the, until the Jewish New Year hits. So there's 2 portions right now. The one for this week, then there's one next week. And then we're done with it. So that's kind of what I am kind of interested in, is, ending out Deuteronomy. But that's where it kind of gave me that idea that I was interested in, like, things about idols and gods. Because there was something I came across where I was wondering, and then I can't remember if I heard this somewhere else or if it was just in my own head, but I remember thinking, if other gods and other religions and all that are, like, completely false, then, like, why would it matter if people worship them? If people who come from, like, a Judeo-Christian background are going to want to worship some other deity or an idol or a natural phenomenon or some kind of nature thing, like, if it's fake, why would anyone care? Alright. So, yeah, I was just curious about that, because I was like, it's just been something that's kind of been on my mind. And then usually once October rolls around, I start studying, paganism anyways. I'm just fascinated with it. I don't really even know fully why. But it's just interesting because I came across something today in, so this is the second portion or third portion? So it would have been Saturday night to Sunday night is the first portion. And then Sunday night to Monday night is the second portion. So yeah, it's still technically, we're in the second portion until Monday sundown, and then that's when the third portion starts, because that's technically what they list for Tuesday. So yeah, as far as the first portion is concerned for this week's Parsha, there was something mentioned in the commentary with Rashi's commentary that was just really interesting. And I don't know if it was the person speaking or if it was actually in Rashi's commentary, but they mentioned when they started mentioning, remember, basically like remember the past, or talk to your fathers or like elders and things like that, about the past so that you don't forget it. And of course, people take the spin on that, like, history repeats itself. That's kind of the first thing that came to my mind, too, when I was reading it. And then the person who was teaching about it gave that kind of explanation in their commentary. And then there was something else that they talked about where they said, and this is the part that I wasn't sure if it was true or not. They said that Hebrew, ordinarily, everyone at the beginning of time spoke the Hebrew language, and until the Tower of Babel, there were no other languages. And then until Shem, Noah's son, who they say, Shemites, or somebody else said Semites, that's where the name Semites comes from. And these are things that I don't know. I was just hearing this today, so I'm like, I had time because I was taking the train from San Diego to Anaheim, and I was like, well, I got like 2 hours to sit on the train, and so I was like, let me study some of this stuff. I was trying to get back into a better meditation practice this morning, and like just kind of easing into my day. I spent an extra hour in the morning just kind of easing into my day with a lot of like meditating and things. And so I didn't really want to go like overboard with everything, and be like, oh, like everything is so, like, make it so intense, I didn't want to make it like some big intense situation. I just wanted to kind of casually study something. But that's kind of what caught my interest, were kind of those two comments. So I was like, I don't know if that's something I've ever heard before. I mean, I guess from the perspective of the Bible, that would make sense if you're using the Bible as history. But the other part that's always weird to me is the Bible only mentions like the Jewish people for the most part, like the history of the Jewish people. And there was also this phrase that said, like, God chose them. I guess from, choosing between other nations, decided to choose the Jews, and, because the nation was precious to him, and, that kind of thing. But yeah, like, I was kind of like curious about language. Is that backed by history? And I'm not saying that like the history we learn in schools is like 100% accurate anyways. Like, I've got my own bones to pick with some of that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's a good foundation. Like, you got to kind of start somewhere. So I feel like what I learned in school with history and stuff, and then what I've learned through, growing up religious, I think I like hearing about, creation I also like hearing about evolution. I don't like to try to fully discount either one. I've almost, I think somewhere around college, I started, thinking, not thinking, but like once I learned about guided evolution, I kind of found that a little interesting and kind of a little more toward something that I could kind of grasp a little bit better, especially because like when I was reading in the Bible where it says like certain things like how God made certain things like the heavens and the earth or whatever, and then like basically it almost, the way it's worded, and I don't know the Hebrew, but in the English the way it's worded, it almost assumes that the earth, it says the earth brought forth, and then there were other things bringing forth, like the seas, I think it was the seas brought forth different types of animals. And then you still have this, like, the waters above the earth, the waters below the earth. That's something that I don't really know if that is in the history books, like your typical history books. That's still kind of one of those mysterious things that you never really get taught. And then the whole thing about the earth being spherical, or is there like a firmament? Are there four corners of the earth? Why do so many ancient cultures believe that the earth is flat, and then all of a sudden, was it with Copernicus or whoever the heck, we all of a sudden, it seemed like it was backed by the Catholic Church, that's where the earth being spherical kind of came out of, like, and I don't know, like, I've got my own bones to pick also with the Catholic Church, with how they changed a lot of stuff, and I don't know, I don't know, I'm not saying Catholic believers, I just mean the system of Catholicism as a religion, not necessarily the individual believers that go and practice. They're not the ones. It's basically the higher up people. They seem to be a little involved in stuff with changing the Bible and, trying to like manipulate things and, torturing and killing people, forcing people to believe and say and write certain things. And I think they kind of had a role in like astronomy and physics and all kinds of stuff, where it's like there's a lot that maybe we didn't fully get accurate just because of the Catholic Church kind of dipping their toe in the situation. But I am very curious about paganism, idols, because in this week's Parsha, this part, they started talking something along the lines of saying that like initially people worshipped God, and then they started worshiping, like, they had like symbols that represented like the moon or the sun or like certain stars and constellations and stuff, and then people started like literally worshiping those actual constellations and things or stars or whatever as gods. But I don't really know how accurate that is, because I've never heard that before. I'm always just wondering, like, what is the history with paganism? Because it seems like even the people who initially the first practitioners of Islam, some of them were, from cultures that worshipped idols. They weren't necessarily Christians. They weren't necessarily Jews, and Islam didn't exist yet. And so, I don't know. I've got more questions than answers at the moment, but that's kind of what I'm planning on trying to get up to. I'm pretty enthusiastic about it, even if I don't sound enthusiastic. I'm just tired today. Pretty tired, guys. I've had a pretty tiring day, and I'm just kind of in go mode right now, so please do forgive me, but this has been a very unfocused episode, but I wanted to put in some time to record some stuff because I was driving, so I was kind of free. So we got just 20 minutes of a little blurb. Welcome to the fall season. Hopefully, this is a good time, I think, for people to, those of you who like, looking at time periods of readjustment and trying to like reevaluate things. I like to use like seasons and the lunar calendar and all kinds of interesting things like that. So, or like a new month, or like I said, my 30 days and my 40 days. Like I like to try to use certain time periods. And these things, it's good to pay attention, for people who believe in a lot of what Christianity teaches about like the end of time and things. Like I can't really go into all that like Revelation and Daniel stuff. I really don't know enough about apocalyptic beliefs. But I think we saw something with the Mayan calendar, right? Didn't something happen? What wasn't the pandemic like near that time period or something? I don't know. People always say things like, "Oh, the constellations have changed like since those times and all these kind of things." Like, but I do still get curious about, you know, things like that, and just with the sequence of so many just crazy events happening and everything. I'm not really like, oh, doomsday, but I do think it's important to pay attention. Pay attention to how climate changes. Pay attention to how seasons are kind of changing in different places. And even, I mean, something that's interesting to pay attention to is even like things like sanctuary cities and how the surface is changing ethnically, racially, culturally, in different states and different major cities, and with the economy, like just everything combined, and like people kind of like, adjusting their values or like reasoning behind, hey, do I need to go into college, into debt for college? Like people kind of weighing things more and not really just going with the system that we've all mostly grown up in. The system, people are trying to kind of change their ways of doing things. And so with all that, 2024 is like a good year. I don't know if there's any significance with this year, but I think it's a good time. I like the Lunar New Year because it gives me like another perspective versus like where I live. In the U.S., the mainstream follows kind of Christianity and pagan. They don't admit it, but they follow paganism and Christianity basically. And Christianity's kind of like a hybrid paganish thing, religion of sorts. I'm not trying to like knock it. I'm just saying like look into it. Kind of is like there's a lot of pagan esque things about it, and so. And I don't know, but I just think it's important to pay attention to all things, not just the things that your work gives you a certain calendar with certain days off, right? But if you don't have certain groups of people in your company's probably not going to recognize like Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah. Certain places don't recognize like Cesar Chavez Day or MLK or Juneteenth, things like that. So it's like it kind of just depends on the populations working with you, and maybe the communities that are served by your company. Like you could probably get the days off for religious reasons, but most places aren't closing before the Sabbath starts or whatever, or even if they do, it's like a Sunday Sabbath, not Friday sundown, the Saturday sundown Sabbath. And so I'm not saying people have to do exactly like I'm saying. I'm just saying like it's interesting when you're kind of part of a mainstream culture and then taking a step back or a step to the side and being like, okay, well, what if I kind of shift my routines based on this other culture, especially if it's something that interests you, something you might want to practice, learning about it a couple days before, because there's still like a little while of couple days to get to start learning things. Um, if you don't know anything, you can learn how to practice these days, practice these holidays, learn what it says in the Bible about it. Jewish holidays, I don't quote me on this, but I think with the exception of Hanukkah, the major Jewish holidays have commandments in the Torah of what to do and how to like generally observe. It tells you if you need to fast or what to do generally, and then you can find more information online, obviously. But I liked uh, testing out a little bit of stuff during Ramadan. I really was enjoying that, even though it was a struggle, and I talked about all my complications with it. But I figured it's a little easier for me to talk about things early because I don't know what I'm gonna fully do, and if I do actually try to implement something as more of a spiritual practice, like I've mentioned before, I'm not like super comfortable talking about it in too much detail. I did it with Ramadan because it was like, to me, that was important to kind of like talk about more. But with other holidays or other practices, I don't really want to go into it like that. Like, I just don't want it to sound like I'm trying to brag about doing things or whatever. Like I mentioned though, I don't, at least at this time in my life, I'm not like a super heavy Bible reader. Like, I think I haven't read the Parsha for probably like a few weeks now. I thought about it, but I just couldn't pick it up the last few weeks, like I've been, like I said, that 30 to 40 days, like it was a rough month in September, so I feel like this trip that I took out of town to do some raving at CrossFest, um, it really helped, music, dancing, being around friends, being in the sun. Um, it's very good for my mind and body and soul. It's very good for me. And I noticed right away that I feel a lot better even though I've got other stuff going on. But I do feel really good in comparison to how I felt before. And I think it's a combination of the rest and reflection and everything. I don't want my food to get cold, so I'm gonna go in soon. But yeah, I just wanted to record this a little early since we're not in the month of October yet. We're kind of in this shift where there's a lot of little shifts. We just hit a new month about a little over a week ago. We just hit a new month. Sorry, we just hit it. Sorry, not a new month. We just hit a new season, which is fall. I just hit my own goals of like a rest period. And then, we're about to have the end of the month of September, the beginning of the month of October. We're about to have Yom Kippur, we're about to have Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, but then the Lunar New Year in general. There's a lot of cultures that have practices around the Lunar New Year. So I would just say, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like, I obsess over the moon. Like, I'm very much like, I love the moonlight at night. It's just something that I've learned as just one of those small natural treasures, and I'm like, oh, I hope I can see the moon tonight. And I notice when it starts switching, where it's like, oh, like at 2 a.m. I see it through my window, or like at 9 p.m. and it's like, it always catches me off surprise sometimes. It catches me by surprise sometimes when I'm like, oh, the moon isn't there. The moonlight's not there. The moon isn't there tonight. And then other times the moon is like totally there. And so I'm trying to kind of learn more about the moon, the phases, the cycles, and just kind of as it goes through its own path in my own life and in my own, just through my night routine and just being able to see it or not. Some nights I'm up late or wake up way too early or wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, the moon is there, and it's like, oh, what time is it? It's like, if I'm seeing the moon, like, how late is it? And then other times it's like the moon's right there right when it's like near sundown. So, and I even like seeing the moon when it's like not quite like night yet when you can kind of still see it in the sky. It's just, I don't know. Like, I love the sun, obviously, but I mean, like, I like the moon too. Like, because I know learning about it in school and how it, like, affects the ocean tides and things like that. And I've always been kind of like, a little, I like cycles of things and seeing how things progress and change or even revert. I just like seeing, like, things change. And it's been a very interesting couple years for me because I'm like, I noticed, like, I've been tracking a lot of stuff, and I'm like, at first it was like, oh, this is annoying. And then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm in it so deep, I might as well keep tracking. And now I'm like, I've got so much data from, like, weight loss to menstrual cycles to days that I've worked out, the types of workouts I've done, what I weighed during, probably I have almost every week of my weight for the last almost year. It's gonna be a year in December, I think. Um, Sometime in December. I don't know exactly the date, but or maybe in November. I don't know. But I've been in a health group. I've had my, I've gotten a lot of labs done this year, so I have that in the system, and just all kinds of things that I've been tracking. Not just the moon, but like just other stuff. And I'm like, okay, some things I'm improving at, some things I'm like, all right, I need to slow down in certain other areas. And that's why I'm saying I notice I need to slow down. I need to kind of slow my roll, which is what I'm doing currently. So, all right, guys, that's about it for now. I'm gonna post this as soon as I can. Thanks so much for listening.